With the Donna Adelson trial coming up, I decided to do a video where I'm answering all my viewers' questions, or at least my favorite ones. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Carolyn with Moms for Justice. You guys probably know me by now. I've got videos all over the place that are very concentrated on the side stories of the Dan Markel / Adelson saga. I hope that you have been enjoying them. I've been making them. At first, it began like, well, I really want to dive into all these other characters that we don't hear about a lot. So I decided for my own pure enjoyment to go ahead and research some of these characters, like Amy Adler, Jane McPherson, a bunch of others. I'm sure, you know, my viewers have been watching them, and I so appreciate the support I've gotten from you. Today, I have my strawberry refresher from Starbucks, which is really amazing, by the way. I don't know if anybody's ever tried it, but it's really, really good. And they now have a dragon fruit one. And I strongly recommend for those of you that don't want all the sugar to get it made with water instead of lemonade. So, so good. Okay, so today I'm going to be answering some of my favorite questions I've gotten from all of you. And I thought it would be fun to do. I compiled a bunch of comments / questions off of the last 3 videos, so we'll be talking about that. But yeah, so Donna Adelson's trial. I'm so excited. I don't even know what to do with myself, right? Like, we've all waited so long for this. We've waited long for a lot of things, like, you know, praying and hoping that Wendi will be, you know, indicted, arrested. That's like probably the biggest question I get is when is Wendi going to be arrested? That is the biggest question. It really is. When and if Wendi will be arrested. I'm going to tackle that one in this video, but I probably won't start with that because that's a big one. Comment below, give me a thumbs up, like, share. Let me know who are you going to be watching the trial with? Are you taking off work? Are you flying to Tallahassee? What are you doing? What are your plans for watching this incredible, monumental trial that's about to happen? And it's such a big deal, not just because we need justice to continue for Dan Markel, but it's important because not only to put Donna behind bars and to find her guilty of the horrendous things that she has done, but we're all waiting. This trial is going to be like that last missing piece that we believe Georgia needs to get an indictment on Wendi. A lot of us believe that the whole reason why she hasn't been arrested is because there is a great possibility of getting so much more on Wendi through the Donna Adelson trial. Does that make sense? And a lot of people are frustrated and they're like, why? Why is it taking so long? But this trial, like, I feel like the jitters over this. Like, I'm so excited. I'm not going to know what to do with myself when it starts. Obviously, there's going to be a couple days of jury selection, so it's really not going to kick off till then. How do you guys feel about me broadcasting it as well and me chatting with you through it? I would love to do that with you all. So if you're interested in that, please comment. Let me know below. There's a lot of other great channels that are going to have it on as well. So it's up to you. I'll come on live with y'all and hang out with you, and we can talk about what's going on as it goes. I promise I won't talk too much. Okay, so here's my plan. I have compiled my favorite comments and questions from all of you beautiful people who I love so much, who have been so cool. And I feel like it's weird. Like, I have a life, all right? I'm a mom. And I have kids and a husband and all that. So it feels weird saying like I feel like I know some of you, but I do. I feel like I know some of you. Like, we're like chatting back and forth on all my videos, and I feel like we're kind of like a fun little community for justice. So it's really awesome. It's been really cool. So and yes, I do have a life. I don't sit there all day long and comment with you all. But when I first release the video, I'm usually on in those first. I'm on a lot in those first 6 to 7 hours, making sure that I answer you all. And if you guys have anything that you want to talk about, I'm there. Okay, so I'm going to start with Wendi Adelson and Her Men video. As you all know, that was all about Daniel Sack, Dave Eitel, and Jeff Lacasse. And I really enjoyed making that video. That was such a fun video to make. I mean, how cool was it to like kind of go into all three of them and to see, you know, the dynamics of what they could have been like with each one with Wendi. And you guys just were amazing. You guys came back with so many questions and comments and things like that. Now, not every question I read here is going to be about that, but it was on this video. This comment or question was on this video. So I'm going to start with Nepenthe Gal 759. And it says, did Wendi move to Austin before Donna and Harvey tried fleeing to Vietnam? I think most people know the answer to this, but some might not. So I'll just say no. Wendi moved to South Florida first, right after the murder. In fact, she moved so fast that it was disgusting and completely disrespectful to the family of Dan Markel. Literally, the guy is murdered and she couldn't get out of Dodge fast enough. So it's pretty telling that she would hightail it and go right back to Miami, which we all know is where she wanted to end up, right? This is part of the reason why her and Dan were fighting in the first place. And what we truly believe is the biggest motive as to why he was killed, because she wanted to move to Miami and he would not let her. Rightfully so, because he is the father of those children and wanted to be present and an active father in their lives. So that question, did she move to Austin? No, she went immediately to Miami. But what's really amazing about it is that where she, and I know I've said this before, is that all of this for her to go to Miami when it turns out that being in Miami wasn't working out for her in the end, right? Because she ended up being high profile. Her whole family, one by one, is getting put away. And she lost friends in Miami. She lost her job in Miami. And honestly, walking around Miami for Wendi Adelson is just, you know, she could probably never go back there and be accepted because everybody knows who she is. So eventually she leaves to go to Austin. Okay. So she requested to relocate in 2013, but Dan opposed it. The judge denies her this request, triggering years of tension, right? And then after Charlie Adelson was arrested in April 2022, Donna and Harvey tried to flee Vietnam. And then Donna was caught at the airport with a one-way ticket. A red flag, major red flag, right? And then only more recently, in the last 2 years, did she move to Austin. Okay, so next question is from Mary Ellen Beal, 2188. She says, did she ever say to Charlie, and she's referring to Donna, did Donna ever say to Charlie, why can't you find a nice Jewish girl? No, I don't think so. Look, we don't really know the answer to that question because she did give Rob a hard time about wanting to marry this girl that was not of the Jewish faith. We all know that. It turns out that Rob married a Jewish girl right after that, like dumped the one he was truly in love with, ends up marrying another one that was, and very quickly was like, this is not working out. I'm going back to the one I'm in love with. So we know that it's not just the female, the girl in the family, their little girl, Wendi. They did give Rob a hard time as well. So did they say this to Charlie? Well, we don't know the answer to that, but I will say this. I don't think they cared when it came to Charlie. Here's why. He was a philanderer. He was a goofball. I don't think they had the same expectations of Charlie as they did Rob and Wendi. I think, and you've all heard me say this before, he was kind of the bozo, the goofball of the family. I don't think they set a high bar for Charlie. So I really don't think they cared, and they probably never said anything like that. Okay, so the next one is a comment from Jim Glathar, 4053. Okay, it says, before the second date, I would have Googled her. I would have found out about the divorce, the murder, and I would have thought, do I really want to get involved with this? Then I would have, in the words of Monty Python, run away, run away. Okay, very interesting. Hilarious and relatable, but also pretty chilling. You know, I mean, how many people go on dates and Google? Do you guys Google people when you're on dates with them? I don't know. I mean, I'm married, so I don't go on dates. But if I was single and I went on a date, would I Google them? I don't know. Do people do that nowadays? I'm just kind of curious if people Google after dates. That's very interesting. But anyway, besides the point. If I Googled somebody and found out that their spouse was murdered, I mean, it depends. Was it before the arrest of Charlie or after the arrest of Charlie? Because that's when Charlie and Donna get arrested, is afterwards. But if she said, oh, my husband was murdered, a year or two ago and no one had been arrested, would you immediately assume that she was involved? I don't know. Because I'm like a paranoid person, my red flags would go up immediately. And I'd be like, I don't know if I want to date this person. What if he was involved? I watch too many true crime shows. So I would be like, no, that's okay. I think I'll pass. Okay, so that's that. I will say Dave Eitel, since we're talking about that video that I put up, Dave Eitel was well aware that Danny Markel was murdered. But when he was dating her, Charlie and Donna were not behind bars. So would Dave, if you're listening to me right now, and I hope you are, comment below. Because if you had dated Wendi after Charlie got arrested, would you have still been interested in her? That's the question I have for Dave. So hopefully he's watching right now and he answers. That would be awesome. Okay, next one. Jenny, you guys with the names. Jen in Maui. Oh, Jen in Maui says, because I'm from Tallahassee and I have a personal connection to this case, I appreciate being able to understand all of the interpersonal relationships between the various characters. You have answered some of my questions that I had about this. Okay, so this means so much. I mean, the Markel case is very, deeply local, right? There are a lot of tensions between families, the FSU law community, and this brutal, custody battle. So my question for Jen in Maui is, when you say, I have a personal connection to this case, that you have a personal connection to this case, can you please elaborate on that? Like, do you know somebody? Are you an old friend of Wendi? I really, really want to know. I really hope that you will respond back with that. That would be amazing. Okay. Dave Majara 4734 says, Donna may have pressured Wendi to marry Dan. Jewish, Harvard, straight-laced. Donna did the same to son Robert. Interesting. Okay, so here's my take on that. First of all, in case you don't know the history on this, Wendi was on a dating match, jewishmatch.com kind of website where you look only for Jewish men. She was on there with her mother, Donna, okay? And they selected Dan Markel together. How creepy is that? Like, right? Like you're sitting there with your mom and she's like, oh, call him. He looks cute. So actually, the irony here is that Donna helped pick Dan Markel out, which is crazy, right? It's just crazy. Well, I think they saw dollar signs. They saw, future lawyer. My theory is that they did not think that he would want to teach for the rest of his life. I think they saw dollar signs in him being some, high-powered attorney and, like a Johnny Cochran. And that didn't happen, which means when that doesn't happen, the money doesn't come in because professors, they make a good living, but they're not like loaded rich. They're not like making huge salaries. So that combined with the fact that Dan didn't let anyone pull the wool over his eyes. Dan was also just as involved with the kids. A lot of men are not involved with their kids. And he was, and that combined with not making a whole lot of money is my theory. It's just my theory. It's not fact, but I just personally believe that that was the initial motivator to divorcing him. Now, was Donna in Wendi's ear the entire time telling her to leave him? I think so. 100%. I think she was like, you need to get rid of him. You need to get out of there. You need to move back down here and you don't need him and you're better than him. And he's not what we thought he was going to turn out to be. Again, speculating. This is my theory, people. But hey, we're talking, right? We talk about it. And that's what my channel is about, is trying to figure it out. So tell me what you think. Comment below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel also while we're in the middle of this. But do you think not only Donna, how much of a role did Donna play in influencing Wendi to say, he's not good for you. You need to leave him. You need to get a divorce. Tina B, 3627 says her ex-boyfriend said that he was addicted to her, that she has the aura and sexuality that's irresistible. So she's talking about Jeff Lacasse, because I can't think of who else she'd be referring to. So this definitely lines up with proven testimony about Wendi's magnetism and manipulation that we have seen all with our own eyes. And yeah, described Wendi as emotionally intense and hard to resist, whether intentional or not. Her aura has played a role in this whole thing, right? And how she has gained allies, friends. She has manipulated not only Jeff, but she manipulated Sarah, Jane, Lynn. She's got all these friends, and they were used as pawns in a much darker game, in my opinion. I think that they were all groomed, and there were repeated get-togethers, and the women do this all the time. You know, you have lunch with your friend. I'm not doing well in my marriage, you say to her. Or I'm, not happy, or he's a jerk. And then you tell them every negative thing about your husband and not any of the good. And then your female friend starts feeling bad for you and taking your side, of course, because that's what your friends do, right? They try to be there for you and support you. But when you continually say things that are negative, and I'm assuming and believing that that's what she did, just complained about Danny, that all her friends, got complacent with the idea that he was this really bad guy. And when you get used to that thought in your head, you lose perspective. You don't really know his side of the story. So yeah, so her aura has played a large role with how she manipulated Jeff, but also, she was seductive with her own friends. She was, she's the Black Widow of Tallahassee, people. She is bad news. Okay, so East Rider. So East Side Rider 707 says, and it's another male's opinion, which I love, Wendi is attractive for now, but not beautiful or hot. That's the comment. So that's a very interesting perspective. While Wendi's looks are subjective, it's worth noting how perception affects prosecution. Many believe that her polished, calm demeanor, her image as this great mother and a professional, is shielding her from being charged with this, murder. How much do you think her appearance plays a role in how long it's taken for her to be arrested, or if she even gets arrested at all? That's another thing. How much does her appearance play a role in this? My opinion is that it plays a huge role. Okay, she's a dimwit socially, I think, but the education and intellect of her is very high. She's a very smart woman. She speaks very well, and I will say that, like, my favorite testimony of her is during the Katie Sigfredo trial, where the Sigfredo's attorney gets up and really grills her, and sometimes he kind of makes an ass out of himself, right? He does, because she is quick-witted with her answers. Are her answers sometimes dodging around things? Yes. And it's very frustrating to listen to her answer a question because she tries to get around it as much as she can. But she succeeds with keeping her composure and coming back at the attorneys with questions for them. Like, she'll be like, excuse me, is that a question? She'll be like, oh, what kind of question are you exactly trying to ask me? Like, she is very sharp and on top of her testimony, which makes her pretty compelling. And then combined, she's up there in the same old gray suit, we all know, but she's up there, and she is considered beautiful to a lot of people. How much will that affect the jury? even in her testimony in Donna Adelson's trial. Do you think that she has come off in a favorable way to the jury, or do you think they can see through all her crap? Okay, so this next one is a big one, and it's going to tie into the big, huge question everybody has. But let me just go into saying Laws Planing is the username. Says, it is inconceivable to me why she has not been indicted. This is the question everybody asks, right? Wendi has not been charged. Why hasn't she been arrested? Why haven't they indicted her? What's taking so long? I mean, over and over again. And this is the passion of the people that want to see this woman be held accountable for her actions. It's huge. It's so strong. I think it's stronger than Charlie and Donna, all of them put together. I think everybody really, if you had to pick one Adelson to take the fall for this, who would it be? For me, it's Wendi. Even though Donna is like it's so obvious, right? It's so obvious Donna belongs behind bars for everything she did. But if I had to pick between Donna and Wendi, it would be Wendi, okay? Because she set the wheels in motion here. She is responsible for all of this. And yeah, like, she got to go down and move to Florida, gain full custody. I mean, she gets to see her boys. Dan is no longer with us and did not. I mean, it's just so much for me is riding on her. So, regarding why she hasn't been arrested yet. First of all, let me say this. I think that if they wanted to right now arrest her today, they have a case. They have a case to arrest her today. But I do think that that case is like very largely circumstantial. It's just, layers and layers of all these crazy, quirky things that when you put together. But it's very risky to do this because if a juror comes to the table and says, you know what, it's not proof, it's just, yeah, it's pretty risky. And then there's a thing called double jeopardy. Once she gets off and they set her free and they acquit her, that's it, right? She's done. And you'll never get that shot again. Now, I do think that Georgia has a deck of cards that we don't know about. I think that she has things on her. I can only pray that she does. If she doesn't, though, there's some hope here. And I'm going to tell you what I think it is. So, she's got the derivative immunity. She has testified in 3 trials. Those 3 trials, she has made some inconsistent statements. She has lied. And those things can be used against her. Okay? So, if we look at history, there is a pattern of her showing up for these trials, and there is like lots of goodies that Georgia is getting out of it that she can add to the pot of evidence to put on this woman. So, wouldn't you want to wait? There's a trial looming right around the corner for Donna. So, waiting and seeing what else you can get is the smartest thing for Georgia to do. That, combined with whatever the evidence is that she does have that we don't know about and she's holding close to her chest, that is really why I think that she hasn't been arrested yet. And I personally want them to get it right. And if that means that they need to wait a little longer, then I do think we should all be patient and wait a little longer because there really is not enough. Possibly. Yes, there has been trials where a defendant has been found guilty on circumstantial evidence. Scott Peterson, right? Scott Peterson is circumstantial evidence, as much as we all can't stand that guy. He's a snake, he's a cheater, all that stuff. But that was a circumstantial case. And I'll just tell you that I think Scott Peterson is guilty as all heck, but I think he needs a new trial because I don't think it was done right. That's my opinion about Scott Peterson. Did he murder Lacey? Probably. And I think that he belongs in jail, but the fact remains is that he did not get a fair trial because of media. He did not. And honestly, he's got some stuff that was not allowed in. So I'll put that aside. But anyway, because of that reason, we need to get it right with Wendi. So that is why I think she has not been arrested. And I think it is really, really worth it to wait. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the Wendi Adelson and Jane McPherson video I did. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you go back and watch it. It's pretty it's great. It's really good. I love this next question. It says from Jubilee McCoolbily V3P says, then why hasn't Jane come forward or helped the prosecution? This is amazing. Okay, so I think one of the reasons why Jane gets so much heat is because she's been so silent. I mean, for you to be silent with everything that's going on, all the things that you learn in the media about this case, what the truth has come out, her driving by the crime scene, her brother, her mother being arrested, by her not coming forward and helping the prosecution speaks such volumes. It's like beyond me. Like it tells me that she is so team Wendi. You know what I mean? Yeah, it could be fear, but it also could be loyalty to Wendi, right? So how anybody could protect this woman at this point is beyond me. Everyone in that circle knew that they were being recorded too when they went into the police station, especially her. She was a big part of Wendi's interview. And for her to come in and she knows that it's all out there, because I do believe that you never know if your case is going to be huge. You don't know if your case is going to end up blowing up and being this high profile, right? So they probably weren't thinking that it was going to be all over YouTube for everyone to listen to. And for that, I feel a little bad for Jane because there she is giggling and acting like totally heartless about Dan Markel being dead. I mean, it's just really, and for her to make the comment of, something along the lines of, I told you not to marry him. I mean, really, now everybody is watching and listening to it. So even with that in mind, you would think that she would come forward and help the prosecution to clear the air and to, clean up her image a little bit but no, she is steadfast. She's quiet, but I don't know, maybe she is talking to Wendi on the phone. Maybe they are still friends. Maybe she is sticking by her. And I think if anybody sticks by Wendi at this point, you're in for it because the people are like, rare. They're like ready to come out of the woodwork because of this murder is just it's so unbelievable, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. I mean, you can't even read about something like this in a book, right? So it tells me that Jane is right where she wants to be, and that is by Wendi's side. Until she comes forward, we are not going to believe, you need to explain yourself, sister, because that video of you and the way you were behaving with Wendi is so inappropriate, so weird, creepy, and disrespectful to not only Dan, but to Jeff too. Okay, here's the next one from Crunchy Frog 0001. First off, I don't know where you got the information that Weinstein is Wendi's godfather because Jewish families don't do godparents. That doesn't mean they can't. I mean, it's just not a thing. Also, since the crimes took place in Tallahassee, a Broward County judge would have no ability to sway anything that happened in a Tallahassee court. Well, you know what? Let's go ask Carl Steinbeck this question because I really don't think that's true. I think that if you're in the state of Florida at the very least and you're a judge, you don't think these judges know each other? You don't think that the people in their field are hanging out or like getting together or they don't know each other? I mean, really, all it takes is a phone call and just saying, I'm a Broward County judge. I need something done about this. That to me is not unheard of. They run around in the same circles. So, yes, I think that a Broward County judge way down on the southern portion of Florida can place a call and have an influence on what's going on up in Leon County. So I have to say, I think you're wrong about that. The other thing I want to address is the godfather thing. So I actually looked this up. Yeah, it's not a traditional thing, in Judaism to have a godfather, but apparently there are Jewish people that have godfathers. Now we know from Wendi that yes, she's Jewish and Dan is Jewish, but Dan followed a more strict Orthodox, way of life. He was strictly kosher. She wasn't. They were just, basic practices. You know what I mean? So it would not surprise me that somebody like her would bend the rules and or her family and, make Peter Weinstein her godfather. I don't think it's anything Dan would have done, but that just answers your question there and I did a little bit of reading on it. And yes, there are Jewish people that have godfathers in their lives. It's not a common practice, but it is definitely something that has happened before. Another thing I just want to make sure that you guys know that there is a wiretap call with Charlie Adelson. Yes, him himself referring to Judge Peter Weinstein as Wendy's godfather. So it came right from Charlie. Okay, so I have another question here. It's interesting. Somebody said, if Wendi hated Dan, why did she cry like that after his death? And then they made a comment. Jane was probably wondering, like the rest of us, where all that drama was coming from, knowing how much Wendi hated Dan. That's an excellent point. Well, anyway, in her own testimony, Wendi admitted she had a very difficult and bitter divorce. So a lot of people could say that are on Wendy's side that's why she cried, because, it's finally coming to an end, plus him being the mother of his children. But the contradiction between grief and past resentment really puts into question her sincerity, doesn't it? I mean, and her guilt as well. I mean, they hated this man. And it is so obvious, especially her mother. So for her to cry like that is really tugged at everybody, and has put a lot of suspicion on her as being, as her crying being a performance in that room. That's why the tissues, and you really don't see tears. It's not the greatest video, but it has been said that she really did not produce tears in that room that she was being interviewed with. Yeah, her face was all red. She's sniffling and all that, but it was so over the top and so contradictory to all the things she was saying leading up to his murder that it just doesn't fly with us, right? It just doesn't. So yeah, if Wendi hated Dan, why did she cry like that after his death? That's a really good question. So here is a question about Donna and Charlie. It says, why would Donna and Charlie be so concerned with finding a father for the boys, referring to Dave? So here's a question that somebody pointed out. I thought it was really interesting. Why would Donna and Charlie be so interested in making sure that Wendi is with Dave and finding a father figure for the kids when they had just killed Dan? I got that question for you too. I mean, really, people, how is it, like, when you listen to the wiretap calls of Charlie and Donna, it blows my mind that they're sitting there going, oh, Charlie, you need to convince her that Dave is the right one in a million opportunity. And, he loves those boys and they need a father and all that. We're going backwards here, Donna. I mean, they had a father and you got rid of him. So why now is it so important for those boys to have a father? They already had one and you took him away. Very good point. It's not even so much of a question. It's just such a good point. These people are so evil. She's an old bag and she cannot keep her nose out of her daughter's private, personal life. And I just really think that she's a total control freak, Donna, total control freak. And the minute Dan Markel was like, I'm not putting up with your mom's crap, he was on his way out the door because she was going to find somebody else for Wendi that would love Mama Donna as well. Here's a question for you. Was Donna's husband aware of any of this? We don't know the exact answer to that. I can only speculate, which is I'm the queen of speculation here. But I think we all agree with one thing, that at the point that they were about to get on an airplane in Miami to take a one-way trip to Vietnam, I think at that point, he had to have known everything, right? I mean, I'd be like, why aren't we coming back? Why Why are we like closing up shop here and taking a, why we only have tickets for one way? But before that, I actually think he knew very little. I do, because it's on the wiretap calls that they were speaking about his health and that his, definitely at the time of the bump, he definitely, I don't think he knew anything because they spoke about keeping Harvey out of the whole situation because of his health. I think Donna was forced to tell him. And then what do you do, men, when you're like in your 70s or 80s? How old is he? He's got to be in his 70s at least. What do you do when the woman you've been married to for whatever, 50 years, whatever it is, comes to you and says, I'm in a lot of trouble here and we need to get out of here and find a country with no extradition. She would have had to tell him the whole story, right? She would have to say, this is what's happened. And you know what? Family first, and you stick by each other. And this is now involving Charlie and Wendi. And of course, Harvey is going to go along with it. He's going to protect his family, So he knew about it. I feel very sure about the fact, and it's just an opinion, but I feel very sure that he knew everything at the time that they were trying to leave the Miami airport. Okay, so I love this one. ADGT21 says, why was Wendi jumping right to thinking of who would do this instead of, oh my God, was this a robbery? Someone trying to steal the car? Home invasion? She went right to thinking of a hit by people she knew. Unless Isom led her along this path. No, he did not. And P.S. the fake crime. I like this post a lot. So why was she jumping right to thinking of who would do this? That part, I think a lot of people might say something like that. Like, God, who could do something like this? Whether you're innocent or guilty. I do think people could say that. But then not to follow it up with asking, was it a robbery? Was somebody trying to steal the car? Yeah, those are normal questions an innocent person would ask, and she did not ask those. It's also very telling that when she was in her interview and they walked out of the room and she was just there with Jane, she actually looked up what was going on in the news on her Google or whatever on her phone while she's sitting there in her interview room, and she goes, oh my gosh, you can even see the car. Well, that I think is a sign of guilt because nobody told her that he was shot while he was sitting in his car. And she immediately was like, oh, you could see his car and everything. Like, I mean, why are you honing in on that when nobody told you that he was shot while sitting in his car? Okay, they also asked, do you think we'll ever see Amy Adler as a witness in Donna or Wendi's trial, especially if she had any knowledge of Wendi versus Dan? No, I don't think she's going to be called. I don't think she has enough information. I think that she is a shattered, shaken woman who's been through a lot. Dan probably said some unsavory things about Wendi to her in his conversations with her as they were dating, but I don't think she has anything that would really, put either one, Donna or Wendi, away. And would they even allow that in? Would they even allow that statement in? I don't know. Again, I'm not an attorney. I would like to think that maybe that would be hearsay. But then when somebody has passed away, are you allowed to say what Dan said? I mean, he hired an attorney. Dan hired an attorney to represent him against Wendi, and that attorney has come forward and testified in the last trial, and he was able to say things that Dan had told him. Dan's deceased, so he can't be cross-examined or anything. But maybe for the truth of the matter, it could be said. And then if that's the case, then they would have to weigh just how much Amy Adler has to offer, and I don't think it's a lot. So my opinion is that no, I don't think we will see her at trial. I love this comment from Bless Your Heart 254. By the way, I like your handle. And she says, literally, no one fixes a broken TV. Everyone replaces it. Absolutely. Because you know what? It is so cheap to buy a TV that nobody would pay 60, 80, even I think it costs up to $100 for a repairman to come to your home and fix your TV. When you can just go buy one nowadays for $150 on, $200 over at Walmart. So that is a really damning piece of evidence in itself. I mean, again, circumstantial, nothing that is proof, but your everyday Joe Schmo sitting in the jury box is going to be like, why would she go through all this trouble? And then to leave the broken TV up. Hey, moms and dads with little kids, you need your TV, right? Dinner time, you put the shows on and while they eat their dinner, right? Or sometimes they need a little TV time to wind down at night. For her to go as long as she did, and I believe it was at least 6 weeks, for that TV to be up there, unwatchable. These kids were complaining. It was unwatchable. Now, yes, they had a TV in her bedroom, which she refused to let them watch that night. I could only guess because she wanted Jeff to just like be able to say the TV was broken long before they had it fixed. But most people would have, especially young children, are going to replace the main TV in your family room area. Okay, somebody commented, we need to bottle whatever Amy does because she looks amazing to be 50 years old. She says, I'm 60 and I want some of it. I agree with you. I am 51 years old and Amy looks amazing. Okay, and I would love to know what her secrets are. Okay, Katie Barron says the boys will be graduating by the time this is all over. It makes me so angry. She has skated. This is where my heart breaks for the Markel family. All this time that's going by, how long it's taking. I really hope that it's worth it in the end. That Georgia really does have enough evidence to carry this all the way through to the end with all people involved, because the price of that is these boys not having any relationship with their grandparents and Wendi basically getting all this extra time to gallivant around and live free and, take part in the lives of her sons, which Dan never had a chance to do. And what makes it even like doubly hard is that the grandparents too have missed out. Everyone has missed out. And it is such a travesty. It really is. Okay, back onto Wendi's book. I keep getting comments about he did read her book. He did read her book. Okay, so he might have read her book. But Dan did not like fiction. I do think that Dan supported Wendi 100%. Let me be clear about that. I think that Dan loved Wendi and he was proud of her. And I think that her writing a book was maybe not, wouldn't be a book that maybe he would pick up and want to read. I think he encouraged everyone to go buy it. But here's something to think about. In the book, if you read it, wouldn't he have known? It wouldn't have been obvious to him that this book was like basically the biography of Dan Markel and Wendi Adelson. I would think that if he had read it, this would have come out somehow. It would have come out in his dealings with this attorney that he had hired, or it would have come out in the mediation. He would have used it because he would have seen, especially remember, they got separated and divorced since she wrote that book. So if he had read it, you don't think he would have put it all together and would have used it as an advantage to him when he was fighting Wendi in court for all these other things? The fact that she took all these items and wasn't returning the ring and she wanted to leave and relocate. And then the mother, I would think he would arm himself with as much as he could to succeed, because mothers are usually favored in divorce court. And I would think that he would say, look at this book she wrote about me. I mean, it clearly maps out, how she felt. I don't know. And then somebody mentioned on my page something about what was the dedication on that book? And I don't know. I'm going to look it up. Okay, I could not find. Okay, so I couldn't find a dedication. And I don't want to give her any money and buy her book, so I refuse to do that. So if there is somebody on here that has this book, this is our story, please comment below if there's a dedication on there and if it includes Dan Markel. I bet it doesn't. The other thing I want to say is that he might have told her that he didn't read it because he did not want to engage in any conversations with her about the commentary regarding the marriage that's described in that book. Just something I thought about. I mean, maybe he knew. Maybe he knew in some ways or subconsciously that it was, written about him. But I think that she entered just enough fictitious information so that she could go, oh no, and gaslight him and be like, it's not really about you. Don't worry. So I think she slipped in some fiction there on purpose because she didn't want to have to defend that with him. Okay, so last but not least, my final comment I want to talk about was from Randy Upton 19Y on the Amy Adler video. I will not list them here, but if Dan and Amy had worked out mega problems for the Adelsons, absolutely, and it could be a motive here to speed this along. If they had any reservations, this would have been the thing that could have pushed it along a little further. I mean, let's think about it. So Amy Adler made Wendi look this big, right? Amy Adler was super accomplished, very smart, New York living, Hamptons, visits to the Hampton. Her brother was Jonathan Adler, and the kids were talking about how pretty they thought Amy was. And the kids, sincerely liked Amy. So that would make Wendi completely squirm, right? Like the fact, how could there be anybody that my children could look at as being better than me? Not to mention, just the pride in the Adelson family is just the pridefulness. It's just so big, so disgusting. And, Dan moving on, even though she originally wanted it, like some people go, well, she's the one who divorced him. Yeah, she divorced him, but she didn't think he was going to go and find somebody like Amy, which triggered something in her, I think. I have to keep saying I think so that we all know it's an opinion-based show. But yeah, like Wendi probably did not realize that she would have feelings about it once she started poking around on the internet, once she started looking up who Amy was, once she came face to face with her, when she came to the door that day to pick up her kids. I'm sure she had all these feelings, and then to top it off, the icing on the cake is having your kids tell you how much they like her. And then I said this before, can you imagine if they'd gotten married? Like if Dan had married Amy? Oh, the kids being whisked off to New York City, Wendi wasn't down for that. It was enough that it would have been like, oh, him living in Tallahassee is one thing. They could drive 7 hours, go back and get the kids or even fly the kids down. But now the idea, if he had married Amy, there's probably a high likelihood he would have moved to New York City. He would have moved to New York City because, there is so much opportunity for Dan there. He could have maybe gotten a job at NYU, and Amy could have probably helped him do that. So imagine having to share your kids with Dan, but not only that, they're frequently going to New York City, so far away from you. And then they're coming home and telling you about all these elite, privileged like lifestyle that Amy lived. Uncle Jonathan, think about it, people. This would have killed her. It would have absolutely destroyed her. So definitely something to think about. Okay, so before we go, in case you have not seen it already, I wrote a Wendi Adelson song. Yes, I wrote all the lyrics myself, and I also put the song together using some AI tools, and I made a music video for it, and I'm going to play it to close out this video. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share to the channel, and take a listen to this.
The state isn't going to decide to arrest me.
Repairman is here fixing my TV. My brother Charlie will do anything for me. Heading to the liquor store, here is my receipt. Drove by the crime scene, thought it was a treat. Oh, Wendi, got a relocated great actress immunity from the state. Oh, Wendi, why you full of hate? Mama's on the wiretap, sealing my face. I left for Austin trying to get away. Called to testify, got nothing to say. I asked all my friends, cops are closing in. Names are being dropped, burying my sin. Oh, Wendi, try to relocate a great actress immunity from the It's done, she typed and pieced right out.